What's up, you freaky folks? My name is Nick, and welcome to my channel, where I cover all things horror. Whatever you're watching, I'm making videos about. And I'm sure you're wanting to watch all of the best spooky stuff on Hulu this month to get in the Halloween spirit. So I've compiled a list of 13 movies to do just that. But really quickly, I thought I'd go over some new things coming to Hulu that you're probably going to want to check out this month, including shows like Monsterland and Hellstrom, as well as movies like Books of Blood, an anthology horror based on the work of Clive Barker, and Bad Hair, a festival favorite that a lot of us have been waiting to see. But if you're looking for scary TV shows, Hulu's really good at that too, because they have every season of American Horror Story, which is very Halloween. They have Castle Rock, a show I never finished, The Terror, a show I never started, The Purge, a show I never cared about. The Exorcist is a TV show I think more people should care about. If you haven't watched The Exorcist, that is a genuine surprise. Also, The X-Files, because that show is a classic. If you have not watched The X-Files, you're truly just missing out. But if you want to lighten things up, they also have Buffy, Sabrina, and Scream Queens. Plus, there is the entire Hulu anthology series Into the Dark. You might want to check out some of those installments, especially the Halloween ones. I'm planning a video ranking every installment, so wish me luck. With all of those recommendations out of the way, let's get to the good stuff, shall we? Number 13 is The Cabin in the Woods, the ultimate slasher film that even people who don't like slasher movies happen to like. A group of young people head to a cabin in the woods for a weekend getaway when they are attacked by a clan of zombie hillbillies. But this is only the beginning of the night of horrors they're about to face. I talk about this movie like it hasn't already been spoiled for everyone years ago, but if you can go into this movie blind, you are in for such a treat, because this movie is all kinds of fun. Whether you want a horror movie, a comedy, or a mix of both, The Cabin in the Woods is just plain perfect. Number 12 is Pyewacket, a supernatural horror drama about a mother and daughter who move to a house in the middle of the woods. The teen is angstier than a 90s kid in a coffee shop in Seattle, so she looks to witchcraft in order to get revenge on her mother. After performing a ritual in the woods, an evil entity is summoned that creates much bigger problems for this stressed out family. This is a slow burn, and I mean slow, and I didn't quite love it, but I do appreciate the concept and the execution enough to recommend it. It won't work for everyone, but if you're in the mood for something low-key and witchy, Pyewacket is such a good autumn movie. Number 11 is Ghost Stories, a British anthology horror about a professor investigating 3 cases of paranormal phenomena guaranteed to give you the chills. Anthologies are hard to pull off, and I do think this one loses steam as it goes, and I personally really didn't like the ending, but I know a lot of people are really into this movie, so I wanted to recommend it because it definitely has the spooky vibes. Especially that first story, I'm telling you, it almost had me shit in my pants. Number 10 is The House is October Built. This found footage flick is about a documentary crew covering all sorts of haunted attractions, until of course they come across a haunt run by delusional folks who want to terrorize them for real. This movie and its sequel are both on Hulu right now, and while they both didn't really do it for me, I can see why anyone would be a fan. I'm from the Midwest, and I know a lot of people in America give the Midwest shit, but this is the best place to be for Halloween season because we've got haunted houses and corn mazes and all that kind of stuff everywhere, and I love it. I want all kinds of more horror movies like it. So if you, like me, gobble all that stuff up, you're gonna want to watch The House is October Built. Number 9 is The Prodigy, a creepy kid thriller about a boy who is born right after the police take down a serial killer. Is it reincarnation? Yes, it 100% is. The parents believe they're raising a super smart prodigy, but as he grows older, he begins to display increasingly disturbing behavior. This won't work for everyone, but if you're into the formula, this is very dark and atmospheric and feels very much like a Halloween movie. Just watch out for that ending. Number 8 is The Wretched, or The Other Pyewacket. A teen boy goes to stay with his father when he must deal with a witch in the woods who begins to possess those around him. This is like a coming-of-age teen movie mixed with a supernatural horror film, and I do think it's quite standard, but it does have a solid villain, and it has those small-town, woodsy, spooky vibes, and that's exactly what I want out of a Halloween horror film. I'm gonna cheat with number 7 to talk about all of the franchise horror that is currently on Hulu, because you know how it is around Halloween. We want those familiar favorites to have fun with. They have Hellraiser 1 and 2, and I know I've already said this before, but I'll reiterate, Hellraiser 2 is my preferred Hellraiser movie. I'm glad some of you agree. But I want to know, where is the massive contingent of Hellraiser fans out there that is keeping this franchise running? I'm just curious, because I have to say, I have never in my times as a horror fan met a single person who is just like, I just love the Hellraiser movies, just my absolute favorite. So what is it? Is it Pinhead? I'm genuinely curious. I want to know all about the Hellraiser fan world. They also have Evil Dead 2, the sequel to the horror classic, and I know just about everyone loves this movie. I honestly don't care about it. I just don't. This movie is so silly. It's just way too silly for me. It just doesn't work. I know, I'm the worst. I'm canceled. Child's Play is a remake of the creepy doll slasher, and I'm a total fan of this one. I think within the horror community, it's like a 50-50 split. We either hate it or are just plain cool with it. And while I think the second act is awful, that part I hate, the rest of the movie offers up some fun technological horror, and that's exactly what I wanted out of this movie. I have to talk about Texas Chainsaw. I know, I'm just here with all the hot takes in this section. No, this movie is quite terrible. It's horrible, but this is such a good time. This movie is so stupid. Nothing in this movie makes sense at all. It is so dumb, but it's a great shit show, and I love that. Scream 4 is also coming to the streaming service. It won't be on there at the time that I post this video, but probably by the time that you watch it, it will be there, so there you go. Number 6 is Southbound, another anthology horror film. This one comes from the Bloody Disgusting crew that made VHS a hit. This one follows multiple stories of people trapped on a stretch of highway in the desert that is cut off from the rest of the world, and basically the Twilight Zone, where all sorts of unspeakable horrors occur. I have to say, I really love this concept. Any horror film that plays around with a location where space and time just doesn't really matter, stuff like this or Rose Red, or you know what I mean, that kind of stuff, I'm into it. And I have to say, I rewatched Southbound recently and I liked it even more than I did the first time, so maybe you will too. Number 5 is Trick, a supernatural slasher about a small town attacked every Halloween by a serial killer known as Trick. But this is no ordinary masked maniac. This movie is running purely on Halloween vibes, and that's exactly why this is the only time of the year that you're gonna wanna watch it. Number 4 is Blood Diner, and you're gonna wanna strap in, folks, because this movie is such a ride. Two brothers running a family diner are not only cannibals, but also worship an ancient goddess, and they're planning a massive ritual for her by killing off people for their body parts. I hope you're in the mood for 80s horror, because this movie is nuts. It's a slasher movie, but it's also a dark comedy, and while I'm often critical of horror comedies, this one strikes the perfect tone where it's ridiculous but gory and bonkers. It's just everything. Blood Diner is my everything. Number 3 is Let the Right One In. This Swedish film mixes the right amounts of drama, fantasy, and romance into one perfect horror tale. A bullied boy makes friends with a girl who moves into his apartment complex, but of course she's no ordinary girl, she's a damn vampire. I think this story is so good I could see it being retold over the years because it is such a singular piece of work. It is 100% the anti-Twilight and proves why good vampire movies can sometimes be the best horror movies. Number 2 is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. This is a straight up comedy, but it's all about the Queen of Halloween herself. So do yourself a favor and give into the 80s cheese, because this is my favorite Halloween comedy not titled Hocus Pocus. Elvira is a TV host who heads to a small town in Massachusetts when her great aunt dies. When her car breaks down, Elvira begins casting her spell on the prejudiced town. I already gushed about this in my best horror comedies on Hulu video, but let me just continue. It's Elvira, it's New England, it's haunted houses and witchcraft, it's everything I want out of a fun Halloween movie. Number 1 is The Devil's Candy. This psychological and supernatural horror film is about a young family who moves into a rural house in Texas with a horrifying past. As the father becomes obsessed with his artwork, a genuine evil begins creeping closer to their home. You guys, this This is the gem of all gems. I remember this popping off a little bit when it was released a few years ago, and recently I heard one of my personal favorite YouTubers recommend it, but otherwise, practically no one talks about this movie. It's like it's been forgotten already, and I just can't have that because I think this movie is practically perfect. It is just so good. It's lean and mean and short and brutal and disturbing and just fucking perfect. It's a haunted house tale, a possession story, and a family drama, and it does all of those things so well. Heavy metal music is used so effectively in this movie. I am not a metal fan myself, but I love it in this movie because it's just so damn well done. I don't want to say anything else because I don't want to get into spoiler territory in case you haven't seen it already, because you need to. This is the #1 horror film you need to watch that you're not watching. But we're not done, because I also want to highlight some of the movies I mentioned in my last horror on Hulu video that are still there and available to watch. There's still The Lodge, Children of the Corn, Overlord, and Oculus. Some bonuses as well. They've got Paranormal Activity 3. I know a lot of you people like that one. The Woods is a movie from Lucky McKee that's about a girl in the 60s who is sent to stay at a creepy boarding school. This might be a controversial pick, but I want to throw out The Last House on the Left, Wes Craven's feature directorial debut. I rewatched it recently, and while I do think it goes a little farther than it needs to in the exploitation department, the message still works by the end. My Bloody Valentine is one of my favorite 80s slashers, and, you know, it's pretty wintry with Valentine's Day and all, but it's there. And lastly, House of a Thousand Corpses. I just mentioned this in my What to Watch video for September because it was supposed to be leaving the service, but it's staying, so that's cool. I have saved some extra favorites for my What to Watch video for this month, so be on the lookout for that. This would be the best time to subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram if you're interested, and be on the lookout for all future uploads because this is the best time of the year. It's our favorite time of the year as spooky people, so I really appreciate you spending your time with me. I'm gonna try to do my best to make this as fun as possible. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really greatly appreciate it. Let me know what your favorites are in the comments below, and if there's anything that I haven't mentioned, feel free to share your favorites. Maybe there are some that I just didn't like or didn't care for, but you want to talk about. Share all of those thoughts so we all have a solid Halloween watch list. Thank you once again, you guys. That's it for this video, but I won't stop you from watching another.